And we're live.
Oh boy.
All right, so first things first, we're going to cover what exactly revolutionary freedom is. And welcome, you faith-driven family men. This is for you. What am I hearing?
Whenever I brought up the live, it came up. I need to make sure to mute it. You know,
learning experience. We have a new process going. Another evolution in the journey that is the purpose that I feel called to live with my life, and the purpose that I believe that I am working in by direct orders under God. So, you know, we started a long time, 6 years ago, maybe. Yeah, Instigation Nation, which is the original name of this YouTube channel. Then that goes to Freaking Blessed, family lifestyle brand. And then ultimately, now I shouldn't say ultimately, current and for the foreseeable future, Revolutionary Freedom with Adam Kasich, because we're for faith-driven family men and we want to help you achieve revolutionary freedom by getting unstuck from the damage of the past. Now, how does that come, right? Some false starts and some starts and then some stops. But I am joined, I'll let you say hi, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, community group manager. We don't have a real name yet, but either way, you can say hi to Michael.
Hey, how's it going?
There we go. Good.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you all in monochrome too, man. That's good. That's a pretty cool little feature there. Yeah, right. It's a pretty cool accident. Because I don't have a camera to make you look good, as good as you look.
Oh.
There's that. So here we are. Do you have eyes on the chat right now?
I do.
Okay. So I don't. There. Okay. You do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you put something in there? Say welcome men. What's up, men? Glad to have you, men. Whoops. Mm-hmm. So it just went right to it. Got it. All right. So that means, do you see the chat?
Whoops.
Hey, Get that off of there. That was me. Welcome, men. Sweet. So we're going to add that to the broadcast, and that's what that looks like right now. It's a little janky. We're going to work on some of that. We're going to work on the formatting of that. And sweet. Very cool. And that one's going to stay on until I shut it off. All right. So why don't you do this? Make a comment in the chat right now, and then if you can, pin it to the top. Is there a pin option?
Not that I'm seeing. I can look at it once.
All right. So put in there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Anyone with a question, start the question with a capital Q. And preferably a colon and then a space if we're going to be proper. But as long as there's a capital Q in front of it, because when this live is over, your comments, or in the chat, your chat comments will never be seen again outside this group, but they will go into a comment section. And in the comment section, if I am trying to find those, it is really important to see the Q in front to know that that's a question, so we're not filtering through. Actually, I should say so Michael can find them easily and we don't get stuck.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Yeah, ideal?
Sure.
There you go. All right, we're working with the switchboard. So essentially, man, you know, you and I talked about this the other day, and it was like, you know, how did revolutionary freedom come about? And essentially, something's happened for me in the last several weeks that has shown me the error of my ways, right? Back in Instigation Nation, I started that because I wanted to help myself get past the damage that I received from the religious circles that I was in, whether it was a church or a pastor or a Sunday school teacher or a priest, whatever, friends. I was very tired of feeling condemned and feeling shamed and feeling nervous when I show up, or I got to act like some certain kind of way. I got to talk some certain kind of chipper. How you doing, good friend? Like, I'd never felt like I could just be myself, right? So Instigation Nation, for instigators only. And that came out because I was angry. But it doesn't mean that being an instigator is a good thing, because an instigator is someone or something that makes something happen. It's not somebody who causes trouble, even though our culture has defined it as that. And I got labeled as that as a kid. But you can listen to the first few episodes of the Revolutionary Freedom Podcast that were done a few years ago, and I go through some of that. Grown a lot since then. Then it moves on to Freaking Blessed. But I stopped that, right? I stopped because it didn't feel whole to me. It felt incomplete. We move on. Freaking Blessed. What is Freaking Blessed? My wife, Nikki, and we started doing lives daily at the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. So we went live every single day for a handful of weeks, and then it dwindled down, and then it went, it went off, and we stopped doing the lives, but went after the community model, the framework of having a community. And it was just premature. It wasn't ready. It wasn't a bad idea, because Freaking Blessed was all about living freaking blessed in your life as a lifestyle. And I'm a dad of 4 kids. I've been married over 20 years, and I've been walking my faith in Jesus alone since the summer of 1999. That's when I became a born-again believer in Jesus, the Christ. So that is my foundation. And as I look to where the last few weeks have occurred and that I've journaled about, a couple of different things have happened, I should say, this year, right? Did I talk to you about that when I started doing the flooring upstairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the music. It was a band that I had heard from a long time ago, the Cross Movement.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That was, is this the genesis, kind of like where we had our little conversation?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So there's that, and still waiting. Nikki, if you're out there, can you hear this? Did the notification go to your phone? Okay. So we were talking about that, and I'm like, that got me remembering this verse in Revelation about God was talking to his people saying, you've forgotten your first love. And sometimes for some of us that have been in the faith for a while, you don't necessarily lose faith, even though many people walk away. This is different than that. This is about, I've been doing daily devotionals for years consistently. I'm in my prayers. I talk faith. I talk Jesus. I talk to him. I teach my kids. This is my life. But that first love thing, it's like a honeymoon, right? The infatuation period. You can't stay there forever. It's not realistic. But I was very much that way in my early days. And let me see, dude. I think the latency on my voice is off. Are you seeing me on the live over? Are you seeing me? I have to stop looking at you. It's such a bad habit.
Yeah, I have it kind of delayed because I paused it.
But the words with the audio, yeah. Ooh. Hold on. We're gonna turn the mic delay, and I was supposed to test this already. So I'm gonna turn this up to 4. And how does that look now? Not very good. How does that look now? Nope. Maybe up to 8. How does that look now? Now. This is so bad.
It's looking off for sure.
This is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
How's that look? How does that look now when I talk? Does it seem like it's still not synced?
No, it's not synced. No.
And how is that? Worse. How is this? Nope, that's bad. How is this? The audio's way off, man. Ooh, yeah, buddy. How does this sound now? Does that seem to sync up with my voice? Delay microphone audio. How many frames? So my voice, does that seem better right there? No, it's not, because it's still, so it's still delaying it. It's delaying the audio. How's that looking on your side?
So there's definitely a delay. I'm refreshing, but I mean, it's I can't tell if it's with the audio or not.
All right, so this is a half-second delay right here, 12 frame.
Yeah, so I mean,
and how is that looking?
It might be okay on their end.
I don't know. And can you hear it? Are you hearing it? It just don't matter. Audio with my lips. I need to get a fan in here, man. It's hot.
It's a tad toasty.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
Said about 5 seconds.
I actually did hear her. I wanted her to hear me say more things.
Copy that.
How does that look now with my voice and my lips? Nick, can you? I can't. Can you open the door, Michael?
It's not matched up all the way.
Yeah. What did you say now? Yeah. So it's delaying it even more. How's that now? How does that look right here, right now? I put the delay at 0. That's good? Okay. Let's roll with it. 0. All right, now there's 2 people on live, Michael and Nikki. All right, cool. Again, that first love, I wanted my fire back. This was a time where I felt like I was primed to get my fire back, the fire. And Cross Movement happened to be a hip-hop Christian group of Christian guys that were doing hip-hop. I saw them at Martin Luther King High in Detroit. I saw them live. They were amazing. And they were rapping scripture. They were rapping about Jesus and educating through their music. And to this day, it's solid. I went back and listened to all those, the CDs and the album. I found them on Apple Music. They're still there, but I have them in my library still too. So I went through and listened to a bunch. And then I found a bunch of other stuff. And that led me down a little bit of a rabbit trail. And then, so part of my story is that I have not been attending a church for probably 3 years or more, maybe 3.5 years. Yeah, this summer. Holy smokes. Close to 4 years. And that was very intentional and very on purpose because like many of us, I've been very sick and tired of what I've seen in the formal corporate environment of church. The thing that people think of, the building people think of when they hear the word church, which is not at all who the church is or what the church is, but there's a gathering place, right? So just to make that distinction, we stopped going to that because of all the nonsense and the abuse and the damage that I've personally seen, experienced, and witnessed, all that stuff. So, but I have a very good friend in my life, and we decided, my wife and I, it's actually my wife's friend, I always take credit for her friend. We're like, hey, we'll go check out what you're doing because I love you, and she's been in a lot of conversations with us about these things, and it's always been a dream of mine. Not even a dream. It's been something I felt called to do as a normal part of my life, is to clarify truth, is to clarify who Jesus is versus what the church has done. And that is, it's paramount to me in my messaging. So I was hesitant but I'm like, let me go back here. Let me get my kids in some of these little classes, and they can get some of this stuff from other people too. And it's not just me, you know, they're not just drinking dad's Kool-Aid about what I talk about. So we started going again at the end of January this year. And as I record this, it's March of 22. And 2 Sundays ago, week and a half ago, whatever it was, we were there, and we're not there every week. We travel a lot, and we got kids sports and travel tournaments and different things. So there's that. But this woman came, and I told my wife that was the first sermon that I heard preached at this place, and I've probably been there 6 to 10 times, half a dozen times. So,
go ahead. This was a guest sermon. Somebody that came in to guest speak.
Correct. Yep. Okay. Somebody from overseas in London and UK, and she came in, and I like hearing people from different cultures and different countries because they have different perspectives, and I like seeing that and hearing that and witnessing that. But she was speaking about the Holy Spirit's power in people's lives, and she reached me deeply. Like, I was moved by that. Came home for the rest of that day. I was journaling and looking up stuff, reading her Instagram, seeing what she's about. And she's in there doing basically what I've been doing for the last 3.5 years. She's been doing it longer, but in terms of a YouTube presence, a social presence, getting her message out. She's basically a freelance preacher is what she does. And so I was impressed. And if I knew everything about her, you know, I'd be mentioning her name right now. But I've been touched by other people who I wouldn't vouch for. So I got to know more about people before I start vouching again, right?
Yeah.
So where were we with that? I was mentioning that day that I found her, and then she was going through some things, or she had gone over some of her. I went through her notes. Help me gather myself, Michael. Help me gather myself.
I'm trying to put the pieces together where you're going.
All over the place.
I just remember distinctly you wanted to see what your kids thought about it too, and like, because you were really excited about everything that she had to say and how you felt, and you try not to sway them too much. You know, you want them to have their own opinion, but with how you felt after that service, like, it was impossible not to talk about it.
Right. And you know, I got the notes right here. So, and I'll put this on here because who do you, I can't see who's in the group. Is it still, who? Okay, it's just you.
Yeah.
It's just you and Nick. Okay, I thought it was. All right, so I'm going to lay this down so it's recorded. Ready? So here's this note I wrote on, a couple weeks ago, barely. I've taken serious issue with and been frustrated that Christians generally don't pursue God with intention. I don't need to put this on this. Okay. So, she was speaking on the Israelites in the book of Numbers, chapter 11, manna, meat, cravings, their whininess, Moses dealing with all that as a leader. People have heard this stuff before. They were starving in the desert after escaping Egypt, and God gives them manna from heaven. It shows up every morning in the dew. It turns into bread. They do their thing. They're eating miraculously. Then they get whiny about the miraculous way that they're being fed, and they started complaining, and all they wanted was meat. So God put them in knee-high, 2.5 feet worth of pheasant meat and quail. He said, here, you want some meat? Here's some meat. So she was going through talking about Holy Spirit power, and that touched me. And I'm seeing her study every day, and I'm like, you know what? This is something that, from Instigation Nation to Freaking Blessed, each and every time I've skipped and ignored and ran from the part of the calling that says, help people of faith now, directly. And the way that came up, we're in there, this other person on YouTube is showing up in my feed. And actually, his name's Ruslan KD. Ruslan KD is you can put that in the comments if you want. You can just drop that in there because that dude deserves some shine. I find this guy, but I don't normally watch these kinds of things because he's talking about church stuff and church stuff and church stuff. And he's having opinions on this church and that pastor and these people and this behavior and this musical artist. And I'm like, that's not really my style. But as I got into him, I'm like, this guy starts talking about various different things that I'm all about, that has been my messaging for years, right? Mm-hmm. So as we're there, and if you got a question at any given time, we're just going to share the screen here. Just ask me, okay? Because how's the weather where you are today?
Oh, weather's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful where I'm at too.
Yeah,
all right, moving on.
Crazy.
Yep, moving on. So I like the black and white look though, for real, dude. Like that's sharp. That's sharp. So I look at, I don't even have it on me. There's this video that Ruslan does talking about Denzel Washington. Mm-hmm. Denzel sitting down with his pastor for over an hour. And that's all over YouTube too. That's out there. And I was on my way to the chiropractor, and I think this is what I was telling you. This stuff had already been ringing in my head. My first love, cross movement, going and seeing Charlotte, feeling more conviction to get out there directly to helping people of faith. The biggest challenge I've had, and the reason I hired a professional coaching group back in October that I engage monthly on retainer, is because I was having an impossible time coming up with who my target audience is. Do you remember some of this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Freaking Blessed, you were part of that. You helped me with that a lot. And this was a big thing about it. There was always an insecurity in me about who we're serving. When you're not clear about who you're serving, you're not going to be clear about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Marker. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're not clear about what you're saying, you're going to create confusion. You're going to not get, like, people aren't going to, if you're trying to please everybody by being a little bit, like, so moderate that you're not pissing anybody off, you're also not going to attract a tribe, a crew, the people that you're really there for. And in this case, the way that I got convicted on the way to the chiropractor was that Denzel was talking about how he feels this calling in him to be a preacher. All the years of his acting, the biggest movies he's done, it doesn't matter. Like, he's had this inkling to be a pastor, a preacher, and he's felt guilt not doing that. And then his pastor helped him understand the gifts that he's been given and the platform he's been given and to use it there. And what Denzel said was, and the goosies, as my coaching group, some of the ladies in my coaching group calls it, the goosies, the goosebumps are all over those legs right now, my leg. And I'm like, and he says, and I'm halfway to the chiropractor. It's a 20-minute drive, 15-minute drive. And he says, over and over and over, what kept coming back to me in my prayers was, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. He said that, and I was just like speechless, you know? I immediately turned the radio off, and I sat there in silence, driving until I got to the chiropractor, and that hit me so hard. And I think it was just simply the last little nudge off the cliff that I needed to man up. I mean, I did an episode called Man Talk, right? I'm all proud of that, being a man talk, but I had to man up. And in this case, it was being the man who God has called me to be and live the life I've been called to live. Say the things I've been called to say. Clarify truth, speak truth to power. There's been many times in the past, my wife, how many times people call you a pastor and a preacher and a prophet and use these terms with you, like multiple times since probably my first year and a half of salvation. God's been giving me things to say to people that had either authority, power, strength, or influence over me in the moment that I was telling them how they're living wrong. And I don't do that to judge them. I do that because what they're doing is damaging. Mm-hmm. There is a right and a wrong in this world. And even on the Freaking Blessed podcast a couple years ago, when we were going live, when Corona first started, it was like I was even hesitant to talk about the things that I thought were right and the things that I thought were wrong hardcore, unless it was like red-blooded freedom stuff. You know, like unless it was that, because that's red meat for Americans. It's so, go ahead.
I see exactly what you're saying. You don't want to step on any toes, don't want to offend the wrong people or whatever. You're just wanting to get what you're trying to say out there. But
yeah,
it's
tough. The biggest thing is if you don't stand for something,
what are you standing for?
Yeah. What are you standing for? You don't stand for anything.
Yeah.
And you'll also fall for anything. Typically, right? So I had to realize that the convictions I have in my spirit, in my soul, that I'm able to, like, tell me if I'm wrong. Have you been blessed by the conversations we've had in this context of what I'm talking about, whether it's you've been hanging out with us or, whatever?
Daily.
Thank you. So I'll get you your $20 later. Those kind of conversations, we got a spa in the backyard. We've been blessed enough. We were able to put a spa in our backyard this year. And I call it the spa of blessed conversations because
That it is.
that's what happens in there. And it's all this context. So as this coaching group's been trying to help me figuring out who my target market is, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's a guy around 30 and he's a striving man. That was the closest one. I was like, let's do striving family men. Let's help strive. No, I'm like, between the cross movement, seeing Charlotte, coming across Ruslan KD. Ruslan is his first name. Russian born, immigrated here with his parents when he was younger. I think it was 20 years ago. We're close to the same age. A lot of spiritual background similarities. He doesn't know me yet, but he will. A combination of all that, I've been drowning myself in KB's music. You ever listen to KB?
Just the other day for the first time.
You don't say. I would play some right now, but I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Yeah, not yet. We don't want to go down that road
Yeah,
yet.
hopefully not at all. But KB, put him in there too. Put musician : KB in the comments. Would you mind, please? Comment moderator, chat room moderator.
Just KB.
KB. You can put YouTube : KB, like whatever. Music artist. Maybe that, huh? He's really good, man, and he's got a lot of education. So I've been drowning myself in this stuff, and it was like, it's time. It's time. So here's how it's going to look. Am I missing anything? I'm going to move into a little bit of revolutionary freedom. Do you know if I'm missing anything, Michael?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I think that's good enough for a recap, right?
Yeah.
Me being
absolutely.
a wimp. And for clarity's sake too, right? When we have found ourselves, we've come to terms with, we are not living, let's say, we're not doing the right thing in a certain area. And now we're confronting that. We're aware of it. Foreshadowing. Right? Awareness. When we gain that awareness, I'm going to, no, I don't want to do that. Should we leave it on? Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. When we gain awareness about a way we've been wrong or an error we've been living in, unintentionally or intentionally, as a follower of Jesus, as a faith-driven man, especially with a family, because you have people watching your example, and they know if you're a hypocrite, they know if you're, I was going to say, I do want to keep the language somewhat tame. I was going to say, they know if you're a hypocrite, they know if you're full of shit, whatever it is. But they know. A faith-driven family man has no room for error in his character. He doesn't. It doesn't mean we need to be perfect. It means that our intentions need to be perfect.
And your children will be the first to call you on it too. Be like, "Well, Dad, you just did that the other day."
Right. Do you have a monitor up to your top right, or is that where your camera is? Your top right. I'm just messing around. There's nobody here. I just realized that you're not looking there. Are you looking at me?
I'm doing both.
Let's try to, because I'm noticing myself.
Yeah.
I think it's important that both of us be very careful about not looking directly at each other.
Yeah.
Again, not that I'm trying to hide that.
Caught myself doing it.
Just for the sake of people will go,
what's going on?
It's distracting for a viewer when that happens. So anyway, I'm trying to. I'm messing up. This is why we're doing this. Right?
Right.
Okay, good. All right. Where was I? Faith-driven. They know. No room for error. You don't have to be perfect, but your intentions need to be perfect. But when you find out and become aware, you have to own it. You have to own it. And then you have to apologize. You either have to seek forgiveness or you have to give forgiveness if somebody else comes to you in this matter, but you have to. And in my case, I got on my face and I apologized to God for being a coward. Because I know in me, I might have just been fully aware in the last month and a half, but the truth is, I've been aware for a few years. Maybe a couple years, I've been aware for sure at a very low level of just trying to keep it down there. You ever try to do that, like little whisperings, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to face that.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in the last month and a half or so has been 2 months, has been an acceptance to own it. That's what's occurred for me. So while I'm coming in here talking about how many pillars do we have of revolutionary freedom, Michael?
7.
We have 7. While I just foreshadowed the first 2, I am not perfect at this. I'm not a master of this. I am not Yoda, nothing. And I don't pretend to be anywhere with anyone, let alone live on social media. But I do live this stuff. I do live it. And part of my story is pills and IV drug abuse, and God brought me through that, transformed me massively, and set me down a path that we'll get into as time goes on, but only a little bit here and there, because the main deal here is we're helping 1,000 faith-driven family men get unstuck from damage of the past. We have 7 pillars to do that, and what a segue that was. So there's that. I'm going to put that in there just to... This is kind of a divider. Okay. Now, are we... Let me see. Michael, gauging by audience approval, do you think that they're ready for the 7 pillars of revolutionary freedom?
I think so. What better time than now?
I think they are too, judging by the applause. I never would have done that if somebody was watching. I just wanted to play with that. All right. So
They're chanting for us.
as a quick rundown, and you can put these in the chat as a comment, not a question. You can put, okay, so pillar number 1, and I just mentioned it, right? It's awareness. In order to get unstuck from the past. You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I don't even have them in there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's not do that. Especially since it... Okay. Uh-huh. Good thing I got that puppy on push button, man. Pillar number 1, awareness. In order to get unstuck and move on to the next level as a faith-driven family man, you can't move on if you're blind to the thing that's keeping you stuck. You just can't. So awareness is paramount. Pillar number 2, when we move on from that, we're going to talk about ownership. Once you've been confronted with it, you can no longer say you don't know about it. You must own it. If you don't own it, you're being a victim. You're passing the buck. You're giving it to your wife. You're putting it on your kids. You're blaming the sports league. You're blaming college. You're blaming your boss. And please don't blame Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whatever else clown is coming next. I probably shouldn't talk that way.
But
there I go. Oh my gosh. No, right. You have to own it. At 27 and a half years old, nobody forced young Adam to put needles in his veins and shoot the drugs in there. I was a nurse. I was taking medication from the hospital, and I was addicted. I was in a very depressed state. I had suicidal thoughts. My life was a mess. And if you're doing the math, you'll realize that's after I came to faith in Jesus. More on that later. Ownership. I owned it 100% as a 27 and a half year old who was finally like, okay, I was aware for years that I was screwing up, but I was not willing to own it until 27 and a half. And someone helped me do that. After that, it's about forgiveness. You either need to seek it, and in this case, my case, I had to seek it. I had to apologize, I had to lay it on the table, and I did that. And this was coming, at that moment, I was divorced from my wife. We had gotten divorced on Valentine's Day 2007, and we were, at that point, 2 kids. My second child was born outside of our marriage. We were not married anymore, but it was from us getting pregnant. It was us. I'm the dad. Man, what a messy story. I went to Nikki and we did the deal. I laid it out. I went to her dad. I went to her mom. I went to her siblings because of what I had done. It had been 4 years of affairs, drug abuse, and just overall neglect. Deadbeat dad. It's all there. I've talked about this in other places, especially earlier on the Revolutionary Freedom podcast, formerly known as the Freaking Blessed podcast, formerly known as the Instigation Nation podcast.
We might mix up some of the names here and there. So
all 55 episodes are there now. And you can actually drop that in the chat if you wouldn't mind. That way it's there. Thank you. So, you know what? It's just do revolutionaryfreedom.buzzsprout.com and that'll get them there. Pillar number 4.
Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout.com.
Well, also just to touch on the forgiveness aspect
go ahead.
too. You were saying like you're asking for forgiveness and you're also taking ownership of that, but you're also are putting yourself out there for the fact that you might not be forgiven, even though you're seeking the forgiveness. You're owning what happened, but there's a very good possibility that you damage that person too much and maybe they're not going to be able to forgive you at least right away, or who knows.
I think that's a really good point. And that is something to deal with in that, because you have to own the fact that they have the right to not forgive you and you remain unforgiven.
Right.
That's true. Hashtag Metallica. Pillar number 4, selflessness and humility. And this plays right into that. If someone does not forgive you, I'm fortunate. I'm very blessed. The way that my path, my journey has gone, everybody in my life that was affected at that time has forgiven me that I know of, or anybody that mattered. They have forgiven me.
Yeah.
And those people are still in my life. But they might not. Especially if you've had multiple affairs, you've betrayed the woman in your life in that way. For a woman, there's not a deeper way that she can be betrayed. And it's extremely damaging. My wife has forgiven, but she hasn't forgotten. Because forgiving and forgetting is like that forgive and forget, that's a dumb, who said that? That's stupid. Forgive and forget. Some things need to be forgotten.
We all know it.
Some things need to be remembered.
Yeah.
And guarded. But selflessness and humility, right? You have to have the humility to know, okay, I did this and they have the right to not forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
Pillar number 5, did the other pillars make it in there? We're ripping through, huh?
We are ripping
Pillar
through.
2 is ownership. We'll catch that up. Did I ever send you the link? Do you have a tab on that? Maybe to the left of your YouTube tab, maybe? I don't know. I'm not in your computer or nothing.
What are you looking for? A link to,
just so you can see the pillars.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Okay. So pillar number 3 is the forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Either number 1 or word 2. But stay consistent.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, getting me fired up. Here we go. Pillar number 3, forgiveness. It's all good. You don't need to change nothing.
I thought I had spelled it out the first time and then realized I did not.
So I'll put that up there. There's pillar number 1, awareness. Yep. Pillar number 2, ownership. Pillar number 3, you can keep going. Pillar number 4 is coming. Pillar number 3 is forgiveness. Pillar number 4, selflessness and humility, or humility. Number 5 is going to be toughness and grittiness.
Oh. It did not autocorrect like I thought it was going to.
Oh, don't worry about it. Pillar number 5, toughness and grittiness, is there. Pillar number 6, we'll call it essentials. Needs, necessities, essentials. It's not finalized yet because I'm getting ready to make a little announcement. Pillar number 6, essentials. Pillar number 7, execution. If you don't execute, it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing. And I'll use myself as an example. I didn't execute because I didn't want to execute over the last 3.5 years and staying consistent with the podcast. The reason there's 55 and not 155 is because of this very thing that I'm talking to you about, that I had to come to awareness and ownership of, because I was on the right path, but none of them were ever whole. There's my 5217 over there on the time. They were never whole because I was avoiding it. And it's the fastest way to not move on that you can do, is to have an inkling of what's going on, what you need to do, and avoid it. And I'm not a natural avoider, runner from things. Like, I have truth tattooed on my throat because I'm very much into facing what's... When I had my transformation in 2007, when that happened, I became a person who sought out the dust, darkness, and all the other messed up stuff about myself to become more and more sanctified in my King. He's the only one that could transform those things, and he has. But now I seek out those things. This one I ran from. It was big. It was huge. And I can keep rehashing that. But we all have something that's keeping us stuck. Because if we don't, we wouldn't be stuck. Or in other words, you'd be at the level, the next level of the vision that you have in your mind. You'd be there already. The reason you're not there is because there's something you're not facing. And I was talking to somebody that I love and I care for recently. And I told him that because it's not kind to let someone continue to suffer when you understand why they're suffering. It doesn't mean you go blast them with a hammer. It doesn't mean you're insensitive. It doesn't mean any of that. But it does mean that you try to walk them down a path of becoming aware of it, seeing it. And if they're already aware of it, which they probably are, especially if it's been a long time, to help them own it. Until you own it, you're screwed. And that's the truth. That's the reason we don't have more consistency with this mission right now. That's the reason we don't have more eyes on it, more visibility. But all that has come to an end because here we are. This is live number 1. And I wanted to do a quick update on where we came from, the evolution of all these things, and lay out the I don't know, what do you call it? What do you call it, Michael? What
Framework?
The intro? Framework. Well, there you go. We'll use framework. You're pretty sharp, dude.
Hey, good company.
We're going to go over the seven pillar framework of revolutionary freedom to help 1,000 faith-driven family men get unstuck from damage of the past. That's the mission here. And what we're looking for are men who want to engage in the preliminary group, the first group that does this, to help because it's not totally completed yet. We have the framework is outlined. The rough draft is 82.5% done. That's as scientific as the presidential administration stats on COVID. Man, I got to stop making political pot shots like that because I don't know that world good enough to defend it, and I got to stop that stuff. Anyway, we are going to go over the 7-pillar framework, and we're going to go through these things via email. I want to be able to send these things out, and I want to be able to get feedback from you, the men that should be here. And based on the feedback, you're going to help Michael and me. You're going to help me sharpen up the messaging to make this effective, really effective. Because while the coaches are helping me put this stuff together and I'm sitting here staring at a spreadsheet with all this stuff on it, it's not proven. It's anecdotal so far out of my stories. And while I've gotten great results from it, I'm not the only one. I've been able to coach and mentor a little bit along the years, whether it's through business coaching in different ways. And I've used these principles because it's what Jesus used to transform me. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? If you don't know, then you weren't listening.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're going.
No. We want their feedback. Just that we want their feedback.
Yeah. So I dropped in Adam's Gmail in the comments. So it's just adamk6@gmail.com. Any questions that you have.
And is that a public email or is that private?
Should be.
That's my private personal email that we're only using in this group right here. Yeah. So we'll have the Revolutionary Freedom email for later because, there's going to be some chirpers that come after us and we can't have a bunch of people hollering, screaming at me on how I'm going to hell in my inbox, in my personal inbox.
No, you don't want to wake up
that's
to
gotta,
that.
That's got to be a tax-deductible comment.
Yeah, there you go. You got to write that one off.
Yeah, got to write that one off. Literally. So that's what we're going to do. We're looking for 1,000 faith-driven family men to get unstuck, who want to be unstuck from the damage holding them back. And most of that's coming either from authority figures in your life, which is like school and parents and all these other, and religious figures, bosses, all that stuff. But that's usually where this stuff comes from. It's where a lot of mine came from. And then I ran, and long and short of it, here we are today. And that's that. So how long are we into this deal? Wow, 46 minutes. 46. I got 2 timers right here. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Anything else we got to go over? It's just you and me.
That's pretty great.
We'll be able to chop up some of this for audio and be able to use this in places.
Oh, yeah. Definitely going to have to.
Yep.
And you marked it. So marked a lot of the good key points.
Yep. Look how much better when I brighten that up.
You still trying to be live?
We're still live.
Okay.
I'm just hanging just in case there's something else to go over or
something else that comes up.
Something else that comes up. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
No, 7 pillars, mentioning the email. Get on the list. I think we're okay.
How often can you expect to see us do Revolutionary Freedom? Is it going to be a weekly thing?
Thank you. It gets oily under these lights. So in regards to the frequency and what you can expect out of the Revolutionary Freedom podcast episodes will come out on a weekly basis. Those are going to happen. It might take a little bit of time, a month or two, to ramp up to that consistency, but that's going to happen, and in short order. The other thing is we will be doing live streams. On the podcast episodes, you can expect me to be talking to people like the Ruslan KDs of the world. If we can be fortunate enough to get people like KB on and discuss these things, because he grew up in He grew up actually in the south side of St. Petersburg, which is not too far from me. And we'll see where that goes. We're going to interview influencers. We're going to interview people that are in this place. We're going to interview everyday people like us. And we're going to talk to anybody who has the common thread about wanting to see faith-driven family men get unstuck. Anybody who has a heart for that, you can expect to be on the show. It doesn't matter if they're followers of Jesus or they're not. Maybe their heart is wondering about what that's like. Like, Faith driven, the word faith means you believe in something unseen. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a staunch follower of Jesus like me. It doesn't mean you have to be a church-going person. It doesn't mean you have to be a self-proclaimed Christian. It doesn't mean any of those things. The faith-driven family man, I am looking to primarily talk to the guy that I was at 27 and a half years old. And I had a strong faith in Jesus, and I was way off the rails. So that's going to be the messaging. If that bothers somebody, this isn't going to be the place for them. It's going to be too uncomfortable because all these pillars are rooted on his principles of what Jesus taught. And that's where it comes from. So, but the guest spectrum will range widely. I gotta be careful with my body language. I'm being sloppy. In terms of Revolutionary Freedom live stream, we're going to be doing that. I don't know what day yet, but we're looking at doing those weekly for sure. And I'm thinking we'll see what day that is. We'll see what day that is. I'm actually just going to look up the dudes that are in this demographic and find out when they're on YouTube. And those are the days we'll live stream. But that live stream is going to have its own name for the show. And the working name for that show is Living Faithfully in a World at War. And Revolutionary Freedom is the host, is the show. But that live stream show, specifically that hour, 2 hours, whatever it ends up being, will be Living Faithfully in a World at War. How do you live faithfully with your woman when the war of temptation is all over the workplace? This isn't about just being a person of faith while World War III is apparently trying to shape up with Russia invading Ukraine. That's not what that is, because this world is at war. We are not of this world. Anyone who claims Jesus is not of this world. This world has a prince, and his name's not Jesus. It's not Yeshua. So we're going to talk about how does a faith-driven family man stay faithful to the most important things in his heart. And if the priorities of the heart are off, hopefully we can help align those a little bit better. Because if you're a faith-driven family man and God's not first, or seeking him out's not first, your wife's not second, your kid's not third, you're misaligned. It's just off. And that's fixable. But we got to have awareness. We got to take ownership. We got to ask for forgiveness. We got to be humble enough, and we got to ask. And then we got to definitely express some grittiness because it's not going to be easy. It's tough. It's tough to transform things, especially when you're following a king you can't see. It can be tough. So that time will be spent talking about the intersection of faith and culture. It's going to be talking about things that we can do to equip ourselves as men to be stronger every single day. You know, pillar number 6 is essentials, necessities, needs. I worked out today. I try to work out every day. I don't, because sometimes the wimp wins and I feel bad and then I don't do it. That's less and less as the years go on because it's so essential for physical strain in our bodies to get the resistance so our muscles are strong. We need resistance. The only way anything grows is through resistance. It's the only way. The strongest coral in the world, in the ocean, I don't know if you knew this, Michael, but my daughter wants to be a possible marine biologist.
Okay, I did not know that.
The strongest coral in the world, the most brilliant and colorful, are in the roughest of seas. The best captains are made on the roughest of seas. I tried to use a different example, but it went into the same one.
It goes right back.
It's true though, right?
It's absolutely true.
The people, I'm really into mixed martial arts. I love watching the mixed martial arts and combat sports. The people who are the toughest have usually had the roughest routes. And, you know, there's a lot of that. So resistance is important. You're going to face it. You got to work through that. That's called perseverance. And that's something that just has to be done. But we're going to be covering all that stuff on Revolutionary Freedom Livestream, which is basically maybe that's the tagline, right? See how new this stuff is? Maybe the tagline, living faithfully in a world at war. So
I like that.
What's a faith-driven family man to do? How do we respond? What does Jesus say about this? Does Jesus hate Joe Biden? Does Jesus say FJB? Does Jesus say MAGA? Does he say make America great again? Does he wear a red hat? Let's talk about all of it. No, he doesn't. All right. Cool. Covered that. What else? Anything else?
Not that I'm seeing.
Nothing. You getting better at looking in the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. It's so awkward, right?
Just whenever, having a conversation, it's hard not to want to look towards you. I'm also looking at your screen just to see how things are going, and then I'm realizing I'm looking, at nothing.
So. I might even go the route of getting a divider.
Yeah.
Because mentally, it's not natural for humans to have a conversation and
not look at
next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that aren't looking at each other. So, all right. Good there. Anything else? Anything else in the notes? Swipe.
That's what I'm looking at.
I can do this now. It's going to be a separate editable part. I didn't want to mention the Barna stuff. I had thought about that just in case you ever think about that, because that's for me to gain knowledge about a market, and to know that part of my journey that led to this. I don't think it's relevant at all, until it needs to come up, if it ever does.
Yeah, you hit all points.